I was never big on dating apps, but loneliness can make you do things you wouldn't normally do. After another night of eating dinner alone, I downloaded one of those trending dating apps. It felt stupid at first, swiping left, swiping right, judging people based on a handful of pictures and a few words. But after a while, it became mechanical, almost hypnotic. Then I matched with Claire. She had only one picture, a black and white shot of her smiling, long dark hair falling over one shoulder, deep green eyes staring directly into the camera. Her bio was short, looking for something real. Something about her expression drew me in. It wasn't the forced, filtered perfection of most profiles. She looked real. We started chatting right away. She asked me deep, personal questions almost immediately. What scares you the most? What's your worst memory? Do you believe in fate? I answered, drawn in by how engaged she seemed. I asked her the same, but she avoided answering, always shifting the conversation back to me. I should have thought it was strange, but I didn't. I was too flattered by the attention. After a few days, she asked me to meet in person. "I'd love to see you," she wrote. "Meet me at 8 p.m. at the Lantern Cafe." I hesitated. I'd never heard of it before. When I searched, I found almost nothing, just an old listing with no recent reviews. The address put it on the outskirts of town, in a part I didn't go to often. But against my better judgment, I agreed. That night I drove out to the cafe. The area was mostly deserted, just a few scattered streetlights flickering weakly. The Lantern Cafe was a small, run-down place with a dimly lit neon sign that barely buzzed to life. When I got to the door, my stomach twisted. The sign read, "Closed," but the lights inside were still on. I tried the handle, and to my surprise, the door swung open with a soft creak. Inside, the place was dead silent. No barista, no customers. Just the hum of the old ceiling fan and the faint smell of stale coffee and dust. Then I saw her. She was sitting alone at a corner table, completely still. Claire looked exactly like her picture. Same long dark hair, same green eyes. But something was off. Her posture was too rigid, her expression vacant. It was as if she wasn't looking at me, but through me. "Claire?" I asked, my voice unsteady. She smiled, but something about it wasn't right. It was too slow, like she was mimicking an expression rather than making one. "I was waiting for you," she said. I hesitated, my fingers tightening around my phone. Something about this felt wrong, like a dream that was about to turn into a nightmare. I glanced down and pulled up the dating app. I wanted to check our messages, to ground myself. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But her profile was gone. No match, no messages, no trace that she had ever existed. A cold shiver ran down my spine. "You won't find me," Claire said softly. I looked up, my throat dry. "Why not?" Her smile widened. Too wide. "Because I don't exist." The room suddenly felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. I took a step back. This is a joke, right?" She tilted her head, and for the first time, her eyes truly met mine. "You swiped right on something you shouldn't have." The cafe lights flickered. The door behind me slammed shut on its own. I turned to run, but the moment my hand touched the door handle, everything went black. I woke up in my apartment. I had no memory of getting home. My phone was lying on my chest, the screen dark. My head throbbed. The first thing I did was open the dating app. Claire's profile wasn't just gone. Our entire conversation had vanished. It was as if she had never existed. I checked my texts, my call history. Nothing. But then I noticed something. There was a new picture saved in my gallery, a black and white photo of me, sitting alone in the empty cafe, staring at the camera, smiling. We were coming home from my sister's soccer game. We kept asking Dad to stop at McDonald's. He gave us the typical, "We have food at home," and "Money doesn't grow on trees" talk. I think we were wearing him down. He looked at my mother, whispered something, and started to change lanes. We were getting excited in the back seat. Our house was only a mile or so down the road, and my dad was taking an unexpected turn. We knew not to keep asking at this point. Dad loved little surprises, little deceptions, like when he told me we needed to stop at the bank after school, and instead, he brought me to get ice cream. Or the time he woke us up early on a Saturday for a doctor's appointment, only to bring us mini golfing and to the arcade. Mom secretly loved when he did this. She loved how far he would go to surprise us, even if it was just a happy meal. The arrow turned green, and Dad started driving again. I was too busy thinking about what toy would come with my meal. I didn't see anything. I heard Dad shout, "Oh my gee." Then everything went black. I woke up seconds later. At least I felt like it was only seconds later. I wasn't in the car anymore. My vision was fuzzy. The lights were so bright. It felt like I was staring at the sun. I just wanted to wipe the sleep from my eyes, but my body felt like it was 1,000 pounds. I started to feel panicked. I heard a voice say, "Hey buddy, it's okay, easy now." I looked in the direction of the voice. It was a lady. She was purple. My vision was slowly coming back to me. Things around me were starting to take shape. "No, she's not purple. It's her shirt and her pants. It's a nurse." Did Dad really bring us to the doctor's office instead of McDonald's? I know that can't be true, but nothing makes sense right now. I feel the panic inside me growing. It's okay. Try to stay calm. You've been through a lot. Your parents will be so happy to know that you're awake. The nurse had a calming voice. I don't know why I'm here, but she makes me feel safe. I have so many questions. I don't know where to start. What happened? Where is my mom? How did I get here? My brain was racing. I tried to speak, but all I could say was, What? The nurse told me that my family was in a car accident. Someone sped through a red light while my dad was turning and crashed into us. She said that we must have an angel looking out for us, because everyone in our car survived, and she couldn't say the same for the other car. Apparently, I took the most damage. She says I've been in a coma for 5 days. At first, they didn't believe I was going to make it, but I started showing signs of improvement after the 3rd day. She sat with me another minute or so, then told me she was going to go get my parents. They must have been worried sick. Mom was probably biting her nails to the bone. She always bites her nails when she gets stressed out. I'm sure Dad is blaming himself, even if it wasn't his fault. Jenny must be so scared. She's always been the nervous type. She still comes into my room every time there's a thunderstorm. I'd hate to see how she was when she thought her big brother was going to die. But the nice nurse lady did say that my family survived, and now that I'm awake, that means that everything is going to be okay. Or at least, that's what I thought until the door at the hospital opened again. When the nurse walked back into the room, there were 2 people behind her, a man and a woman. They had bandages on their faces, and the man had a cast on his arm. "Oh, thank God," the woman said as she walked up to my bedside. She had tears in her eyes. The man stayed back a step. With a hand on the woman's shoulder, he said, "I told you he was a fighter. I knew you'd pull through. This isn't right. Maybe my eyes were still adjusting. No, it can't be. That doesn't sound like them either." The woman leans in to hug me, and I flinch. There must be a mistake. I don't know these people. Where are my parents? "Don't be silly," the woman says, while wiping the tears away from her face. "It's me, baby. It's Mom. Now I'm 100% certain these people aren't my parents. My mom would never call me baby. She hates pet names. She won't even call me Matt. It's always Matthew. I can feel the panic lump in my throat again. I begin speaking louder, almost shouting, "You're not my mom. I don't know you. Where is my mom? Where is my dad? And where is Jenny?" The woman slowly backs away. Turning her head, she looks over to the nurse. "Is he okay?" Her voice is trembling. "He doesn't recognize me." The nurse steps forward. After severe trauma, sometimes people can suffer short-term memory loss. He may be disoriented and need some time to get his bearings. I started shouting louder, almost screaming. "I know who my parents are. They are not my parents." I pointed directly at the pair to emphasize my point. "And where is my sister? Where's Jenny?" "Sweetie, who's Jenny? You don't have a sister?" the woman said in hysterics. "Nurse, you have to do something. There must be some kind of brain damage." "Sweetie." Again, my mother would scoff if she heard someone call me sweetie. My fight or flight senses are kicking in. My panic turns to rage. I start thrashing in my bed, trying to find the strength to stand up and leave this nightmare. I'm connected to too many wires and machines. I don't even know where to begin. The man is holding on to the woman in the corner. She's still crying, but I can't be bothered by it. The nurse rushes over to the bed. She's trying to calm me down, but it's no use. She hits a button in the side of the bed. In seconds, the man and woman are pushed out of the way by a group of nurses trying to restrain me. They're holding on to me and trying to keep me from hurting myself. Once they realized that I wouldn't calm down on my own, the nice nurse lady said, "We're going to have to sedate him." One of the other nurses rushed out and back with a small bottle and a syringe. They held down my leg and stuck me, injecting the fluid into me. It was warm. My arms started feeling heavy again. I was lacking the ability to speak, to fight back. Before I lost consciousness, I looked to my side and saw the man and woman again. They were standing in the doorway. The last thing I remembered seeing before everything went black was the woman's face. She was staring at me. She said nothing, but her mouth was wide open. She was smiling. When my daughter, Elea, started talking about an imaginary friend, I didn't think much of it. All children invent invisible companions at some point. But something about the way she spoke of Mr. Closet unsettled me. "He lives in my closet," she explained with the serious air of a 4-year-old. "But he only comes out when Mommy and Daddy aren't here." I found it both adorable and a little eerie. Still, I figured she would eventually forget about this game and that Mr. Closet would disappear just as suddenly as he had arrived. For the first few weeks, it was innocent. Elea would talk to herself in her room, sometimes giggle. Once I heard her whispering as if she were sharing secrets with someone. One morning, I found her sitting in front of her wide-open closet, staring into the darkness with a vacant smile. "What are you doing, sweetheart?" I asked. "I'm waiting for Mr. Closet to wake up." A chill ran down my spine. There was something deeply unsettling in her voice. Then things took a darker turn. One night, as I passed by her room, I heard scratching. A dry, rhythmic sound, like fingernails brushing against wood. Intrigued, I cracked the door open. Alea was sitting up in bed, eyes wide open, staring at her closet. I stepped closer. "You're not asleep, sweetheart?" "Shh, Daddy. Mr. Closet wants to come out." My blood ran cold. The scratching stopped immediately. I swung the closet door open, my heart pounding. There was nothing. Just her clothes hanging neatly, and a few stuffed animals piled in the corner. I told her she had been dreaming and tucked her back in. But that night I hardly slept. A few days later, we found our cat, Simba, hiding under our bed, trembling and refusing to come out. Normally he was curious about everything, but now he wouldn't go near Elea's room. I tried carrying him inside, but he clawed at my shoulder, hissing and shredding my shirt in his panic. Then, Elea began to change. She grew quieter, more withdrawn. She would spend hours sitting in front of her closet. One evening, I caught her sliding a piece of paper under the door. "What are you doing, sweetheart?" She shrugged. "Mr. Closet asked me to draw him a picture." I picked up the paper. My heart nearly stopped. It wasn't a simple childish scribble. She had drawn a tall, thin figure with an unnaturally wide grin and hollow eyes. "Does he look like this?" I asked, my throat dry. She nodded enthusiastically. "Yes. He told me he likes me a lot." That night I locked her closet, but by morning it was open again. Things got worse. Elea had dark circles under her eyes. She became even more distant. One morning, I found her crying. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" "Mr. Closet says you don't like him, Daddy. He says you want him to leave." I held her close, trying to reassure her. But deep inside, I felt something watching us. That night, I set up a surveillance camera in her room. I had to know what was happening. I can barely describe what I saw. Around 3 a.m., the closet door creaked open. A shadow emerged. It was impossibly tall, at least 8 feet. It bent over Elea's bed, its bony fingers brushing her face. Then, it turned its head toward the camera, and it smiled, staring into the lens with hollow black eyes. A massive, unnatural grin stretched across its grotesque face like something out of a twisted Picasso painting. It leaned over Elea and seemed to whisper something in her ear before slipping back into the closet, leaving the door wide open. I ran to her room, ripped out the camera, and grabbed my daughter. We left that house that night. We never went back. The next night, while staying in a hotel, I woke up with a jolt to find Elea standing there, staring blankly at the closet door. "Daddy, why is he here?" "He says he's angry." My heart skipped a beat. "Who, sweetheart?" She turned to me, her little eyes filling with tears. "Mr. Closet. He says we shouldn't have left." Then a dull thump echoed through the room, as if something was knocking softly against the wooden door. Elea started laughing, a strange, low-pitched laugh that didn't sound like her at all. "He's coming, Daddy." A sickening crack rang out. The closet door creaked open on its own, revealing an abyss of unnatural darkness. A freezing breath of air filled the room. Then, in a whisper, barely audible, a hissing voice slithered out of the blackness. "You can't stop me from seeing her. I am her friend. But I don't like you." Elea walked into the closet. The door slammed shut behind her. I lunged forward, desperately trying to pull it open, but it wouldn't budge. I screamed her name, pounded on the wood until my fists were raw and bloody, but there was no sound. Nothing. When the authorities arrived, they had to break down the door. The closet was empty. No hidden passages, no way out. Elea was gone without a trace. Today, I am in prison, accused of murdering my own daughter. An investigation was opened immediately after her disappearance. The hotel neighbors testified that they heard screaming, violent banging on the wood, and my desperate cries. To them, I was a father in the midst of a psychotic breakdown. My story about a shadow from the closet only sealed my fate in the eyes of the law. The police found no tangible evidence of an intruder. No forced entry. No fingerprints. Nothing that could explain what had happened. They searched the room, dismantled the closet, looked for hidden compartments. But Elea had simply vanished. The lack of a body worked against me. According to them, I must have hidden it somewhere. I pleaded my innocence, begged them to believe me. But who would believe a story like this? I have rotted in this cell for 3 years. The other inmates look at me with that mixture of pity and disgust, reserved for those who hurt children. But I am not a monster. I am a victim. And I know that somewhere, trapped in an unreachable darkness, my daughter still exists. If you are reading this and your child talks about an imaginary friend who lives in their closet, please don't make him upset. Thank you so much for staying with me till the end. If you enjoyed this story and it sent shivers down your spine, please give this video a like. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me bring more stories like this to you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on the next chilling tale. Your subscription inspires me to create better and scarier content just for you. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and don't forget to watch your back. See you soon.